Are we live, Megan?
Yes, we are, Tom.
Lovely. So, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tom Oldroyd. I work at Semantics 21, and today we're going to be talking about the tools that can help law enforcement identify and rescue more CSAM victims. So, really, to get started on this webinar, we wanted to give you a brief introduction to Semantics 21. Many of you have probably not heard of our company or don't really understand the background of where our company has come from. We have been in the digital forensics field now really for about 6 years. We're a UK-based business and we specialise in artificial intelligence, which we appreciate there's a lot of hype around at the moment, but we have been here for quite a while, specialising in digital media review, not only for law enforcement sectors, for automotive, through automated driving technology to gaming industries, and we're heavily linked with academia here in the UK as well. So a small team which specialise in media review, and we really start to look at how media review could assist law enforcement. And one of the big target areas where we wanted to assist with around CSAM, ICAC type investigations. And as most of you will know from first-hand experience, that the statistics are quite alarming. And we believe that the problem is only going to get worse with the introduction of AI-generated material, with data volumes that can consistently keep growing, and obviously the availability of this sort of technology to everyone worldwide. So Semantics 21, we are a groundbreaking innovation company. We've recently been awarded the King's Award for Enterprise, especially within the area of innovation. So you can have trust and confidence in that the solutions that we're designing are designed and they are the best for this type of work that you really should be you'd be using. And we want to empower you to be able to do your jobs far better and easier. So the company here, there's a quick overview of sort of the three of us that are sort of managing most of the teams. Dr. Liam Owens is the founder and CEO of Semantics 21, incredibly geeky. Let's be fair, we have to have geeks within our industry to design these types of technology. But Liam realized that this is where the gap was within law enforcement. And Liam is an expert in this area of artificial intelligence and the interpretation of digital media. So such that he's an advisor to the UK government through the House of Lords, and his specialist sort of background is within artificial intelligence. Now, to help us with growing the products, we're led by Professor Claude Belushi, who's the director of our research and development team. If any of you drive BMW vehicles or Toyota vehicles with any of the self-driverless capabilities, a lot of that technology has come from Claude and the team that he works with. So again, we have the expertise within Semantics 21 to bring this technology to the front line of digital forensic investigators. And that's kind of where I came in within the business. So my background is policing. I was a police sergeant here in Nottinghamshire Police for 17 years. I came into policing with a tech background and very quickly noticed that law enforcement was nowhere near the capabilities of pharmaceuticals, which is where I came from, and very quickly fell into that role of doing digital forensics. So if it was a device with a plug or a battery, it was my team that investigated it. And I really enjoyed my time at policing. And a lot of the cases that we were investigating sadly involved CSAM. So personally, we invested a lot of time trying to tackle that type of crime and drive innovation. But I left policing in 2017 to join Black Bag Technologies, which is an American-run company that was a spin-off really from Apple, and a lot of the team there were from Apple because I'm a big Apple fan. And the company was brilliant to work for. And again, we were really innovating in the technology that was available at the time to help law enforcement. And they obviously were successfully acquired by Cellbrite. So I've worked for Cellbrite for a number of years. And before coming back to the UK to work with the team at Semantics 21 that I've known for many years, and I like the mission of what we're trying to deliver and the technology we're building to assist law enforcement. So looking at the ecosystem, because obviously we don't just have a single tool that we're going to show you today, we wanted to give you an overview of what we're trying to do, is create tools that plug the gaps in the current tool capability you have access. Now, there's lots of great tools out there that you're currently using, but some of them sort of fall short when we come to look at CSAM and big data analytics around media. So we're trying to create an end-to-end workflow that you can plug in and out of as and when you need, but also utilizes some of the powers of other forensic tools, such as X-Ways Forensics, that we believe is the market leader for carving capability. So we would always recommend you'd use those sorts of solutions. And for mobile phone forensics, again, the big name brands there from Cellbrite, MSAB, and your Belkasofts, etc. So we have a triage tool called S21 Discovery. It allows you to very quickly identify CSAM and criminal activity on computer devices. We have imaging that we can automate through X-Ways Forensics using an automation platform called Streamline. We have S21 Laser IX, which is the main tool we're going to show you today. That's our media review and categorization solution. But its party trick is that this is a victim identification solution first, followed by categorizations. And most of you are using a categorization solution for your media review today. But what we wanted to do is put the victim identification stage right at the start, because it's important that with these millions of files that you're starting to review, we can find and rescue children really, really quickly and then get onto the stage of doing categorization. And where possible, if we can automate these solutions at a price point that law enforcement can afford, that's not forcing you into big cloud sort of analytics and really expensive tooling. So again, we want to try and make the workflow nice and easy, still use your third-party tools, but to streamline. Now, across the whole of the outside of our ecosystem, we have the S21 Global Alliance database. This is the world's largest media intelligence database. This contains CSAM information. There's no, obviously, media, but it's all the text-based data. We can flag revenge pornography, AI-generated content, counterterrorism information as well. So it's a very large database that really everyone should be using. This is new. It's relatively new to the industry. So this isn't here to replace things like Project Vic or the UK version of CADE, but this is an evolution of databases. So it's now considerably larger. And more importantly as well, it's secure. It is end-to-end encrypted. It's an offline solution that you contribute to, you download files so they're on your own network, but you can rest assured that this is very, very safe and you're not going to lose the data. And if you did lose the data, it's fully encrypted anyway. So again, we've built this taking into account international legislations and laws around data transfer and data storage. And again, it's designed really to assist you with your big media review. And the forces across the world that are utilizing this database, which we're going to show you what it actually looks like in person, are reporting back to us that they are reducing their categorization time by about 50 to 70%. So this is a huge time saver when you're having to review millions of videos and pictures. If they've already been reviewed somewhere in the world, and it doesn't matter which countries reviewed them, we can show you their grades and what labels they've applied to those files so that you're not having to either see them again, or you can get yourself into the mindset of what type of material you're just about to see when you turn those filters on. So again, it's ultimately a very similar database to ones you're probably using today, but it can do a lot more. And for Semantics 21 customers, it's 100% free. So again, it's our way of sort of getting you as a community to work together to tackle the common problem. Now, how the solution works, people will use our software. You elect to share your data with us, and you create a export from your local databases that are run in the background, which is MySQL. And we show you how to set all the databases up, and you contribute, and that's part of the terms and conditions. When you become a member, you're given a portal link where you can then upload your data, and we don't need that every case. You could be doing this on a monthly or a quarterly basis, and you send that encrypted file to us. We merge that with everyone else's data from across the world, and once it's merged, that master file is then released, which you then download onto your own network, and you ultimately tell the software to point to that single file, and then that file is then used as your main point of index for comparing your analysis against the files that we have within that 2.5 billion records. So the software that can currently work with the Global Alliance database is the S21 Discovery triage solution. So when we're looking at saying triage, we are able to now not compare to a small database with your evidence. The more intelligence you have, the better that is for triage, because there's less likely you're going to miss first generation material because somebody else will have seen it. But also the triage tool is then backed up with AI to look for genuine first generated material. But also it works with our S21 Laser IX application. And again, a very similar method that you connect to the database and it will flag and identify those files of interest. And the software is available to law enforcement, commercial entities, NGOs, and charities. So again, it's not just a law enforcement tool. We appreciate that even within commercial land, that they will have a need for reviewing media from people's devices. And again, the power of the database is also available to those people as well. And then finally, third-party access. So we are opening this database up to commercial tool vendors. We're also opening the database up to NGOs and charities. And probably really important, the online platforms. We know that the problem of CSAM being circulated online isn't just a law enforcement problem that you're having to deal with. It is socially responsible for the tech firms to actually take their positive action as well. So if you are flagging CSAM material or extremist material within the database, those indicators are then provided to the tech firms, and that then empowers the tech firms to take that media offline as quickly as possible. Even if it's revenge pornography, as we know, revenge pornography could be of any age, but if the consent of the pictures has been withdrawn by the person in the picture, then again, those third-party tech firms can remove that content for you as quickly as possible to stop it being circulated. So that's kind of how the Global Alliance database works with LaserIX. Now, LaserIX is our main tool that we're going to be showing you today. It is a categorization and a victim ID solution. For people that have seen it and have compared it to other solutions, they pretty much say it's very similar to the solutions that are on the platform, on the market, sorry, but it's like it's on steroids. So this is a true media tool that can do a lot more than anything else that's available. And in terms of speed and performance, we have created something that's unrivaled in the industry. So again, we know it's really, really important for you to get to your media as quick as possible, not only because of the volume of cases you have, but it's really important to try and find those victims sooner so that we can obviously put safeguarding measures in place. Now, LaserIX is that total media solution. So you do have all of the capabilities you probably have access to today, plus a lot more. So again, because we design everything internally with our engineering team, we can add all these capabilities in without having to rely on third parties, so we can build things quicker. And obviously we can add the capabilities that law enforcement desperately need. So again, feel free after this webinar to request a trial of the software, and you're more than welcome to play with these capabilities. But you have everything from facial recognition, age detection, motion analysis, image matching, document detection, very powerful mapping, searching capabilities. We can review cases across a network collectively with our colleagues. So if one of you does have an investigation involving 10 or 20 million images, you don't have to review that case on your own. You can collectively do it with your colleagues in the lifetime, and you'll see the results being populated as your colleagues are assisting you with the grading and the review purpose. So again, incredibly powerful solution. But behind the scenes, we're an AI company. And we know that to review big scale digital media, you need to use the power of AI. There's no hiding away from this. And what we do say to people is AI is not there to remove the human. It's not going to replace the human, but the human that uses AI will replace the human that doesn't use AI. So we really do have to embrace that this technology is not going to disappear. The bad guys are using it. We know that what's happening. We now, as law enforcement and as a responsible company, we need to use this for the better. So we've trained the AI on lots of different objects, including a specific CSAM auto-categorizer AI that will detect is the image containing CSAM, indicative images of CSAM, adult pornography, and other. So we work with i5 nations to work on genuine CSAM material. So this is not like other solutions that will have a nudity filter combined with an age estimator. This is a genuine CSAM detector that will allow you to screen your media as quickly as possible. And again, we'll talk more during this webinar, but AI is not 100%. Please treat AI roughly around 70% accurate. If you work to the level of 70%, then again, you're not going to be surprised when you see some strange results coming back within any tool, AI results. AI is still in its infancy, really, for us within media review, and we just need to treat it that way. It's a filtering technology that's there to assist you. So again, there's loads of capabilities we're going to show you today that hopefully you'll be blown away with. Now, some of the new AIs that we're starting to put into the application are features such as the facial upscale AI. So we know that facial recognition is very difficult on poor quality media, predominantly things like CCTV or videos where there's a high level of compression. So what we've introduced is not only recolorization technology to take grayscale images back to color, but also the ability for you to use an AI that will upscale faces so that a facial recognition system could work. Now, we're not suggesting within our tools that people would take low resolution images and create a better quality and utilize that for publicly asking for additional information around a suspect or a witness, because obviously it's an AI generated material. What we are suggesting is to get the most out of an AI engine to look across your case, you need to improve the media in the first place. If we provided this image on the left to our facial matching solution, it would say, look, I'm struggling to find the face, and for me to find a match, I'm going to give you poor results. But if we upscale the image in the first place and then do the comparison against our case, the results will be far better. So there's a workflow involved in how we use all of these different AI models that are built into the solution. And again, another example of selecting a face out of a crowd. The center face that we've selected, a facial modeling system would struggle to do facial recognition. Once the face has been upscaled, then again, we will see the results and be able to provide those services. So one of the new things that we've brought to S21 Laser IX is the Vision Inspector AIs. Now, think of these as like a Google search for your analysis. Historically, lots of companies always used object-based AI detection systems, and they'll allow you to type in you're looking for a car or a person. And they're really helpful. That's a great way of screening out your media. But it's limited to the number of objects that the AI has been trained off in the first place. We've totally changed that. And we've now got a number of Vision Inspector AIs that you can select within your analysis. And that means that you can now search up to 70,000 different objects, but also emotions, scenes, settings, seasons, and colors. So that if we know that our victim was at a birthday celebration, and we can then type in the word birthday. Now, that's not an object, it's a season, it's an activity that's happening, but the AI is trained to work out what's actually happening in a video or picture to then give you the capability to search those lookups and those clues that you're having in your analysis. So that's kind of how the AIs are starting to work. But we wanted to show you now the application in person. So if you, at the end of this webinar, need additional information from us, please feel free to reach out to the team at Semantics 21. We do encourage you to follow us on social media so that you can keep up to date with all of the new features we're adding, but also we're going through a series of really educating users on what Semantics 21 have had available for quite some time now, but we're now letting you see it online so you can educate yourselves a little bit easier than having to come directly to us. So this is the application. What I will do very quickly is I'm just going to minimize my camera from this webinar just so that you don't see my face in the bottom corner, so it's not distracting you away from the application. But now you can see the application window. So this is Semantics 21 Laser IX, and it's currently in the dark theme mode that we use because we know that dark theme mode is an ideal capability to stop you getting stress from your eyes when the screens are very light. So again, we introduced this about 5 or 6 years ago. It's good to see other companies are also following suit. So within Semantics 21, this window is designed to be quite easy. If you're used to using Microsoft products, then you obviously know that there's a ribbon bar and there's different options to select. It really shouldn't be difficult for you to pick up and familiarize yourself with the application. So across the top, we have new cases, open existing cases. We can connect that pool that I mentioned about having a collective a unit reviewing a case together. We can connect to a pool if one was available. We can conduct intelligence lookups even before we've done an analysis. If we have a cyber tips from NICMEC, or we have hash values or a serial number of a device that we want to look up, we can compare those entries against our local databases. Or if you do have access to the Global Alliance database, we'll be able to show you has that serial number been seen anywhere else in the world before. So again, a really powerful capability to have even before you started a single analysis. Now, within our software, you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, we have quick start guides. We know that most people in digital forensics are male. Males, we're not too great at reading manuals. So we decided within our software, we will create videos that you can use totally offline to self-teach how to use the application. Now, the application should be intuitive enough, but we are aware it's a comprehensive application. We want you to be able to pick up very quickly what we're intending to do with a particular feature, and you can learn by watching those small videos. So we'll dive straight into a new analysis by hitting the new analysis button. You can see there's a number of fields here that would be needed to be filled in by the operator. In this case, obviously the basic things, the usernames, the analysis details, but also there's this drop down here that allows us to choose our analysis type. Now, this means that we can either choose between having a CSAM investigation or a non-CSAM investigation, which means the software will look and feel different. If you're within the IRS or the HMRC tax office here in the UK, you don't really need to see the features that are relevant to sex offences. So therefore, those buttons and those options would disappear from the interface to make it more of a general media review tool. But in this case, we're going to use it as a CSAM investigation platform. We then complete the rest of our fields and then move on to the next options. Now, with this Semantics 21, we're going to set the save location just as a demo here on my desktop, but this is where I'd want to save all my results to. So all the AI results are going to get saved to this location. Any reference images that I create, any enhanced imagery, it's all going to get saved to that one case file, which I can then, once I finish my analysis, I could archive off to a network location, but that's where I'm going to read and write to my save files. Now, the nice thing with Semantics 21 is the software has been created to allow you to add multiple exhibits at the same time. And the beauty there is, if we all know a user of an iPhone will probably have an iPad, they're going to have their iCloud account, which is probably caching images onto the local machine, or they're going to have a Mac. They could be multiple Apple devices with the same photos, because it's all using iCloud photos. And traditionally, a lot of investigators have needed to review the computer evidence in Inspector or Belkasoft to review the media, and then they'd use Cellbrite to review the media. And you're wasting time. You're having to double up that analysis review. The beauty here is all this digital media can now be added to one platform incredibly quickly, where we can then deduplicate, and we can obviously provide you the ability to see where has the media actually been going. Was the original CSAM image on a computer, and then it's ended up on the phone, and we can draw that linkage for you. So the nice thing here is we try and support as many of the different third-party exports as possible. In this case, we have the XML and JSON files, which I've just added two from Xways. But I could add a directory of media, maybe it's CCTV videos that I want to add to my analysis, or a warrant return. I have support for the whole C4 save files. Now, there is a carver built in, so we can review your EO1s, your DD images, or a physical disk direct using our own logical reviewer or our physical reviewer. But my personal recommendation would be that if you do have access to Xways Forensics, please use Xways Forensics Carver. It is way better than anything else that's on the market, and you will get a maximum return for your investment, especially when we're looking at CSAM investigations where we don't want to miss images of children being abused. We need to recover those to make sure we don't miss part of our investigation. So although we do have the capability, as I say, there are tools in the market that are better, and Xways is one of those that we do recommend you would use. We also have support for UFDRs, UFDX files. So if you're a Cellbrite user, you can directly add your Cellbrite extractions into the application. Likewise, if you have the new magnet gray key capability, then those files can also be added in, or zip containers, or even VHDs. So again, this is where we can sort of build up this ability to add multiple exhibits in one go. You can also, as well, just worthwhile mentioning, we can add additional exhibits at a later stage if we needed. So it isn't a single shot approach that we're going to do these processing options and then that's it. Everything I'm showing you right now, we either do right at the beginning, or we can also customize and tweak further on down the line within our investigation. Now, we know that this is a CSAM investigation, and the quickest way to find CSAM material is to compare the evidence we're going to add against our local databases or the S21 Global Alliance database. And your local database may be one that's owned by your agency. It could be that you're utilizing Project Vic or the UK version CADE. But you can build up as many databases as you want. The NIST database is already hard baked into the application, so you don't need to worry about that. We've already worked with the team there, so that is naturally built into the solution because it is so powerful and useful to have. But it is the quickest way to find known CSAM material or known material that we just need to move out of the way that's been pre-categorized. Now, a lot of investigations start with a NICMEC referral. The online platforms are obviously detecting CSAM, and they're submitting those files back to the team at NICMEC that are doing an amazing job, and then they're then forwarding you the request. Now, most agencies will receive the PDF file, which is the NICMEC cyber tip with the relevant data. Now, this is a really good place for us to start our investigation because we already have that intelligence to point us in the right direction. So what you would need to do within S21 is we can navigate to our NIPMEX CyberTips file. In this case, we have it on the desktop, and we add the CyberTip file into our analysis and turn the option on. What this will now do is it's parsed out the relevant files and the details that we need, and it's now added it to our case to say, hey, if you see those files within the analysis, please tell me about them because that's what NICMEC have told me to keep my eyes out for. So again, a really quick and easy, efficient way of utilizing that NICMEC intelligence. We have Project Vic analysis built in, so we work with the Canadian Centre for Protection of Children. We have their HashSet database built into our application, and it's a case of just simply turning it on. This will now scan your media and compare those hashes to Project Arachnid, and if you have a hit, it's obviously come from the Arachnid database, which will be CSAM. Now, within this analysis, we have the option to add keywords and social media analysis. We can also customize the keywords we're looking for, or we can use the ones that are already hard baked into the application that are provided by other law enforcement agencies that we've vetted and said, yes, these are appropriate for international usage. But this really circulates around CSAM investigations or counterterrorism operations with some keywords. We have the ability to turn on image and thumbnail generation. Now, this is optional within Semantics 21 and can be a bit of a game changer if you need to get your analysis really quickly. And obviously, you don't need to create those thumbnails because you're using systems that are good. If you have a Fred or a Talano type computer, they probably don't need to generate the thumbnails because they can read the evidence directly quick enough without you having to duplicate additional imagery. But if you are running your analysis over a network or you're trying to do your review over a network, this could be an option to have this turned on and will then generate you additional thumbnails for your case. Then go on to the next options, and this is where we start to apply some more of this intelligence and the AIs that are behind the scenes that are already built into S21. So you don't need to download these as bolt-ons or add-ons that are already within the application as part of the package. Now that could include skin and color analysis. We have visual grouping images that look similar. We have a nudity analysis to say, does the image contain nudity? And if it does, to what level? Is it nude, non-nude, partially nude? Because again, it would be a very quick filter for us to apply to our evidence. We have face and age analysis. So we were trying to say, well, is there a face in the image in the first place? And if there is, who is it? Is it a male? Is it a female? What age category would we put them in? So again, all of this really useful data that's going to allow us to filter our evidence to find the key information quickly. Now, also what's nice with face analysis is if we see faces within your case that look similar, they will be grouped. And we have a tab that allows us to say, just show me a wall of faces that all look similar to each other. I can click on them and I can verify, very similar to how any of the sort of online platforms like Apple iPhotos, if you're used to that, how that groups faces that look similar for you to then review. Exactly built into this application as well. Now, we did mention in the slides about the visual inspectors. These are relatively new to Semantics 21. This is a clever way of us being able to group AI searches quickly and efficiently. Vision Inspector 1 is an object analysis of approximately 150 common artifacts and objects that we see in our day-to-day lives, so people, animals, chairs, tables, vehicles. Vision Inspector 2 is a contextual AI, which will look at the content of an image and determine what's actually happening. So, for instance, if we use Vision Inspector 1 and we said, show me pictures of a drone, it will show you objects of a drone. But if the picture is been created by a drone, then that's not an object. But Vision Inspector 2, because it's contextual, would find it and draw that association that, hey, I believe this picture has been captured with a UAV or a drone. So when we tell the software, show me all pictures associated or linked to a drone, we would then get aerial footage being recovered and shown to the user. So again, a really powerful feature within the software. And then finally, the third visual inspector, which is the latest and the newest AI for us to build into the application. This is just over 70,000 different objects, including explicit content. So it's been taught off a lot of adult pornography sites and data in partnership with those companies to look at what objects and what sexual actions are actually occurring within pictures so that you can now filter based on that particular type of crime type or that investigation. It also contains a lot of extremist content. So where historically we've been concentrating on war zones that may have had a desert environment and very bright lighting conditions and a sandy sort of texture to them. Obviously, we're now seeing conflicts that are in different parts of the world that have a different look and feel. So the AI is needed to be updated to take that into account, so that when you're looking for beheadings or soldiers being abused from a particular war crime, then again, these AIs are now trained to detect such material and flag it to you. Finally, on here we have the OCR text detector. This is a handwriting and a character detection. Ultimately, OCR is optical character recognition. So should you have text within a picture, whether that be a screenshot, which is a really useful feature, if you have a suspect or a victim that's constantly taking screenshots of messages, or they're being cached, then this allows you to use the ACR feature to say, just type in the screen name of the suspect that I'm looking for, and you'll see every picture with that screen name on. It could be serial numbers. It could also be registration numbers for vehicles. So again, a really powerful feature, but you turn these on and off as and when required. Now, this is a CSAM investigation, and this one here, the final one of the AIs, is probably the most important to us. We want to look for CSAM. Now, as a human, I could go through every piece of media, but the computer can do it far quicker than I can. Now, we aren't going to say that let's just have the AI run and try and find my CSAM. I'm not going to review the rest of my case, but we know what offenders are like. If we find CSAM in a particular folder structure, chances are if the AI's found the image really quickly and I then switch to look in the folder structure, I'm going to find the rest of that collection. So again, it's a really powerful filtering technology built in, and it is designed to run, and it has been trained to run on genuine CSAM. So it is a genuine CSAM detector. So as we go through to our last sort of options here, what we want to run, we can utilize the onboard GPU, and this is just a shop-brought laptop. This is not a big forensics computer. This is just a standard laptop that anyone could use, but it does have a GPU built in. So we're going to use the NVIDIA GPUs to really get the high core rate to help the AIs run. Now, if there is no GPU in your system, do not worry. We will fall back and we will run the AI analysis using the CPU of the system on both the videos and the pictures. Again, this is quite nice. We're not having to call out to servers. Everything is local. It's designed for policing. That's why we have everything that's on an offline environment. We have a junk filter, which will allow us to filter out low risk material. And again, we can customize the junk filter by just clicking the settings button here. We have the ability that we can skip the AI on labeled files. So if our database identifies a high number of the content, those files don't really need to be reviewed by the AI because we already know what they are. So the AI will skip. So we're trying to be energy efficient, time efficient as well within the application. Now, for agencies that do have thresholds for CSAM review, so should you have a level of which you see so many images of the CSAM at a certain level, you can stop your analysis. You can set that as a warning in the software. So when you hit that threshold, the software will say, hey, you've met the threshold. You don't need to go any further unless obviously there are reasons to. So you've identified a victim or you're going to continue to look for first generation material. But again, some users do like to have the threshold system built in just because of the sheer volume of what they're looking at. And then finally, the last button here is skip AI unfiltered. So if our junk filter has identified that 60% of our analysis is junk because it's icons and low, small files, or the location where the files have been saved are normally operator system locations, then again, we don't need to use the AI on those files. So we again want to try and drive this efficiency saving to stop wasting time on AI when it's really not needed. So once we've made those settings, and again, you can see in this case, we've not set many, we just wanted to set the key ones to look for CSAM. And then the final window, this is where Semantics 21 sets itself apart from any other tool on the market. We want to drive the ability that you need to find victims as quickly as possible. It's the most important part of any digital forensic investigation, to try and rescue children that are in harm's way. And we know that you are being driven by intelligence. You've done the warrant, you've recovered the digital devices, you kind of know what you're looking for, and you have those clues. Now, within this window, we're not going to go into too much detail, but this is where you would preload your intelligence into. So whether it be you're looking for a location of interest, or you have a date and time range of interest, a particular device, you know your suspect may be using a particular social media platform, you tell the software. And the software will then drive its searches to try and help you identify where your victims are within your investigation. So it could be that we're looking for children. So we describe that we're looking for children. We may be looking for a particular object. Maybe our NICMEC cyber tip or the UC Online, the undercover cop, knows that the victim was always holding a particular teddy bear. So we know that we can start to look for words such as teddy bear. There may be a color of interest. We may even have photos of our suspect. This window here allows you to add as much intelligence as possible so that even before we've looked at a single piece of media, those searches are being done in the background. And it's as simple as if we did a location search, I would simply just draw over on the map. So we're looking at London here, for instance. I could say this is where my suspect lives. And I just add it into my search condition. If my victim lives a bit further up towards the Midlands of the UK, then again, this is where I could then mark it as my victim location. So everything here is really self-explanatory. You go through the different options and you choose the search condition, and it adds it to this contemporaneous list on the right-hand side. And we can just keep building that up within our analysis. Once we've obviously set that search and we know what we're looking for, we then tell the software we want to start. So we want to drag our media from our extraction, which in this case is about 40,000 files from an X-Ways export, and then add it into the window, add it into LaserIX, so I can now start doing my media review. Now, this software is incredibly quick. And this is where most people say this can't be real, because other tools we've used would take hours to do this. And literally, we can see that 42,000 files have imported in less than 1 second. Now, a pro rata score is for us to give you an overall calculation of what is possible with your current system. My pro rata score on this laptop is I can ingest 2.5 million pictures or videos, it makes no difference, in a minute. So this is quick. And this means that we can now minimize these windows out of the way, that I could drop onto the grid and I could start reviewing my content and seeing the pictures. I can instantly start scrolling over my videos. I don't have to process those frames, that I could see a video content. Now, what you will notice on this window here that's currently on top is these are the list of tasks that we've told the software to do. And the fastest and the quickest way of us identifying our CSAM is to compare against those databases. So you can see NSRL's run, we've calculated the photo-DNA hashes, we've compared against our local database, and sure enough, that NICMEC CyberTip report that we added, we've now got the pop-up. And NICMEC CyberTip is saying to us, hey, we've found those results that you wanted me to look for. Now do you want to see them? So we can say, yes, show me my NICMEC CyberTips. On the screen now, we see that it's just loaded the files. These are the files of interest that NICMEC have made us aware of. Now, because we know a lot of offenders are creatures of habit, it would be a case of us simply saying, yes, these are CSAM. They would then be graded. We could then dive into, well, let's see what else is in that same original path. So we could say, just show me the files that are in the same directory, or the same directory recursively. If I believe that the offender may not be saving them in the same directory, I could say, okay, well, show me anything that's created within the 24-hour period. Or I could even customize the time and date range that I want the software to look. So again, we're using these clues. That the whole webinar is about not only just using S21 LaserIX, but how do we run a digital forensic investigation? We need to use that evidence that we've been given to help us filter and find the key bits of information. So instantly, we've used our database to compare against our local database, and that will have added the category labels for me. In this case, it's identified 37 files that it believes are CSAM. Now, please don't obviously worry. In our investigation, we aren't going to show any CSAM, but we're just using this as a demonstration. We have 37 files that the AI has detected, and the database is detected as being Cat1 imagery. And obviously, we had those files then flagged to us automatically that were detected by NICMEC, and NICMEC said, hey, these are the ones you want to look at. So already we've kind of reviewed a lot of our information, and we're starting to work on the grounds of, this is a bad guy. We've got the right machine. We're starting to find our evidence. Now, for some investigators, they may say this is enough to hold our suspect, and they're not going to get bail. So we could very quickly create that holding report to say, we are onto the right suspect. We now need additional time to dig that little bit deeper. Now, obviously, in the background, there are some of the checks going on. One of the pop-ups that we will see very shortly will be that we have our project Arachnid hits. So again, in the same sort of way that we've compared against the databases, we can see that Project Arachnid is also identified. And we see the little marker on the files below that indicates, yes, these are Project Arachnid hits. And simply, again, we would use the same methodology of, let's go dig into those files. Let's go and look at those file directories and see what else our suspect is saving in those locations. Now, once we do dive into those locations, it could be that some of our media within those locations needs to be graded. And obviously, the whole idea is, as we're going along in our investigation, we would simply need to start labeling our files and applying the relevant labels. Now, again, this is set to the UK standards, but we do support 17 other different countries, depending on where you're based. So again, they would be set to how you would grade, whether it be Cat 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, or if you're using an Australian system, it's slightly different. But again, you just apply the labels to the media. And as you're going through the screens, again, we can go through and we can select multiple files and apply those labels as you would normally do to your investigation. Now, there's different ways. There is literally about 17 or 18 different ways to grade material in Semantic 21, because we want to give you as many different options as possible that you feel comfortable with. So whether or not it's a case of you apply the labels and then you go to the next page to go onto the next page, or even if you want to have something called auto refresh, that when you add those labels to images, they simply just disappear off the screen, and obviously they're repopulated with new images as you're going through to your grid. Now, we know that if you have millions of files, it's difficult to use the mouse to select. So we also have hotkeys that would allow you to add certain buttons, such as in this case, the star button, that is applying the legally held button to all of my media that's appearing. And as you can see, the counters on the left, every time I click the star button, it's notifying the system that everything that's being displayed is legally held. Now, if I make a mistake, there is an undo button, so we can always go back 15 conditions. But again, that's not really the most efficient way of grading material. It means you've got to keep clicking buttons, and that's going to become quite difficult over time. So we have the option that we can then set auto refresh. What auto refresh will allow you to do is to say, instead of me clicking a button to change page, just change the page for me automatically every 3 seconds, and I'll just sit there with a cup of coffee and I can review the media. And then when I see that there's an image of interest coming up on the screen, I can simply turn off the auto scroll. I can select the image. I can grade that image at the relevant level, and then I can start the auto scroll again. When I would then get to the end of the pages, I know that everything that I've graded up until that point has all been categorized. It's in the right area. What's left is simply my legally held content. And all I would then need to do is right mouse button on the label that says unassigned, and then I can label everything as legally held in one big click. So again, we give you the option to review media in many different fashions and to be able to apply these labels really, really easy. Now, to some users, they say, look, I really don't like the page system. Going from next page to next page, it's not really a flow. It's not really something I prefer to do. So you can use flow mode. Now, in this case, our software will say to you, if you want to use flow mode, we would recommend you generate thumbnails. But if you have a quick enough system, you should be okay without having to run the thumbnails. And ultimately now what we have is, instead of a grid of images being loaded onto the screen, we now have a flow review. So we can then drag up and down. Now, all of the same capabilities in the software exist, which means I can now turn on auto scroll. So I could sit there and I can have my images scrolling up and down the screen. And then the same thing, hey, there's an image that I believe is suspicious that needs to be categorized, categorize the image, and then carry on scrolling. Now, of course, we build safety measures in place into our applications all the time, that even if you left auto scroll on because you got distracted doing something else, or you think, hey, I just zoned out for a minute, the system actually allows you to roll back. And we can roll back, and if we believe you're not actually at the keyboard or you've taken a phone call, the software will stop automatically and say, hey, I don't think you're there. Or, are you there? Do you want me to carry on? Or if you say, no, I wasn't there, it will roll back to a point that it knows that you were at. So again, there's lots of fail-safes built into the software, and we do this as part of our tracking. So we track everything users do within Semantics 21 for welfare benefits, so investigators can be reassured that everything they're being exposed to is being recorded, so your managers of a lab also get to see that data. So again, all of this capability to add labels to files is really, really helpful. Now, it could be as well that we wanted to add tags. Tags are where we can identify or flag a file of interest. Whether or not we want to flag the file for report purposes, it could be that we have identified that this is our suspect, and we want to tag it as a suspect identified. And this is where the power of the databases come in, because as a collective community, if you can identify and help other investigators, this is where it leads into. So again, tagging this as a suspect identified and then contributing back to the S21 Global Alliance database allows other people to benefit from what you have discovered and what you've done. Now, to see the database, obviously the top ones are automatically populated based on your location. But on the left-hand side here, we have the Global Alliance database. This is media within our investigation that has been seen by somebody else internationally, anywhere across the world, who's also contributing to the S21 Global Alliance. And currently that's 2.5 billion records. So it's a lot of information that we possess. So if I needed to, I could actually turn on my filters, and I could say, okay, I want to see any images that have been identified as CSAM by UK investigators if I'd had any hits. Now, in this example, we have only legally held content that's been identified. But I know that this material here, when I turn on the legally held, this is any legally held files, 15,721 in this particular case, that have been previously seen by Canadian investigators. And I can then dive into the intelligence window to say, okay, who saw that image? That's really useful because I can get myself into the mindset of knowing most of this material will be legally held, so I'm not going to be coming across CSAM. So this could be that I review all of this content on a Friday afternoon. So before I go home to my loved ones, I know that I've got to go through the junk of my analysis, the legally held content anyway, just to double check, but it means that we know what we're going to expect to see. Now, if we flip that on its head, the power of the Global Alliance database is that if we had files that are CSAM and they're identified by a Canadian or an American, Australian contributor, it means that one, we can very quickly go to them the same way we did with our NICMEC cyber tips reports, but it means that we can also be assured that that picture has been seen, but we know who it's been seen, when it was seen, and any EXIF data or notes that have been shared with those files. Now, the Global Alliance database doesn't contain the media, it only contains the intelligence that you, as the user, are prepared to share back with the rest of the community. Now, let's say you have an investigation where the child may be 2 years old and you come across a CSAM image and you believe it could be the parents that are abusing that child. But when you see the image on the computer and it's been detected in the Global Alliance database, when you click on the hit and it will show you the entry in the record, it could say, well, actually, that picture was seen 4 years ago in Germany, for instance. That would then mean that, well, that picture isn't of the child you're investigating or you're protecting. It's an image that's been circulated outside your investigation. So your threat level and your risk could be reduced because you've identified where that image has come from. So the Global Alliance database is incredibly powerful, and we're adding more capabilities in for tagging and flagging relevant data to allow not only law enforcement, but for those big tech firms that are circulating this material to take positive action to remove it from their platforms as quickly as possible. So very quickly, we'll overview that we've done the database in. We've had our NICMEC cyber tips, flag files of interest. We've utilized the Project Arachnid database, and these are really, really quick processes. Now, one of the processes we asked the software to run was the auto categorizer. Now, to explain how the auto categorizer works, again, please be assured there is no CSAM in our investigation. You can see that the AI has detected, in this case, 69 files that it believes are CSAM pictures, 3 files it believes indicative, 18,895 that are other, and 2 that the computer also believes are adult pornography. Now, the bottom option here is AI versus the database. Now, this is, again, another fail-safe that we've built into the application that says, if the database is telling you that a file is legally held, the AI just double checks, because the AI says, well, hold on, the human said it's legally held, but I actually believe there's a high content of CSAM, and I believe the human may have made a mistake. Can you please just double check? Ultimately, all we would do is we turn that filter on, and we would then confirm and say, no, the person either graded it correctly, or yes, as humans, we do make mistakes. The database is inaccurate. And now then by regrading it to say that it is actually a category A or an indecent image, the database is then updated. So the database isn't, once somebody's voted it, that's it. The database is dynamically learning from the more people that grade, the cleaner the database becomes. And it's as simple as in this analysis, if I just reset my filters and choose indicative, we can see in this case here, these files here are what the AI believes are indicative of child abuse. Now we can see that they're mistakes. Now, as we've always told everyone, AI is not 100%. Please don't ever listen to a sales pitch where people are saying it is. Now, simply within the solution, we can change the confidence within the AI. And this is what's nice about Semantics 21, is that because we create our own AI, we can have all of this extra capability built into the solution. Now, if I reduce the AI confidence down to, let's say in this case, 67%, what we're actually saying to the software is, show me anything where you're 67% or more, you believe it is indicative of an abusive image. And you can see the filters dynamically change, that we now have more CSAM and indicative, the file counts have gone up, but the results will probably be lower. If we say, no, we want to actually increase the accuracy of the AI up to sort of the high 80s mark, then again, we can see we've reduced the file count down, but we may have that crossover where the AI is just actually was 87% sure it was indicative, or it's 87% sure it was CSAM. It could get lost. So this is where we want to educate you to say, be mindful, AI does have a calculation of how accurate it is. The nice thing with Semantics 21, we are transparent and we can show you how that accuracy system can work and how you can customize it to show you the best results. So again, this is a very quick overview. We've used databasing, we've used Enigmatic Cyber Tips, we've used our Project Arachnid, we then moved on to Global Alliance Database, and we've also then used the AI that's built into the system to find that true first-gen material that's not been seen before. Now, we are going to switch over just to a different analysis, just to show you some of the features and some of the AIs that have been run that would have taken slightly longer for us to analyze, but you'll kind of see the same capabilities. Now, the AIs run incredibly quickly. We're not going to say that these AIs would have taken hours to have run. They wouldn't. They would have taken minutes, but literally we would have run out of time within our case. Now, one of the things we did suggest that people use, and one of the really important features within Semantics 21, is the capability that we have the find victims options. Now, when we preload or when we tell the software what we're actually looking for, this is where the results are. So again, we have our database in, we have our auto-categorizer hits on the left-hand side, but this is where we have our find victims window in the search results. I set a region of interest in my example of looking for London. But if you'd set yours, you would simply then turn them on. And in this window here, it's then going to show you where those images are. And then on an offline map, we'd then be able to see that this is where that image has been captured. And this was potentially one of those areas of interest. Now, also within one of those searches, we also get the option to say, well, we know the area of interest. In my case, I drew a square around London. But did I have a place of interest? Well, if this was a CSAM investigation, I'm probably interested in places like schools or play parks or grounds or water parks, somewhere where I know my suspect probably will be hanging out. So within Semantics 21, within the mapping system, we can also put points of interest. Now, in this example, we did set the points of interest to schools. So on the map, we now have an overlay of all the schools that are around our case, and they're indicated here by the little red house markers. But as I hover over, what you will notice is we're getting the school details, but also the school badge, which is really useful for CSAM investigations. So Semantics 21, we have plotted every school across the whole of England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Canada, but we've also worked out their school badges, allowing you not only just to see the school badges on the map, but if you needed to, you could type in the school badge description, and we will then filter from the tens of thousands of school badges that we're aware of down to the one that you're currently seeing in your investigation. So again, this capability doesn't exist elsewhere. We keep these mapping files up to date as often as we can. So again, it allows you to have that extra capability within your tool. Now, the things that are within the mapping system, very quickly, is the ability that we can actually describe within our mapping service what it is we're looking for. So if we knew we were looking for a particular object, we could type one object in. But if I actually want to now search for multiple objects, so in this case, we can see that I'm typing in a Starbucks, a Costa Coffee, a train station, and the word statue. What we could actually do is we could then say, well, where do those things exist within a certain radius of each other? I can then select them on the map, and then what we'd actually have is the searches within our mapping system totally offline of where those four things in this example exist within the UK, where they would be together. If I'd spelled statue right, we would have also had the results coming back for statue. But again, this isn't just a basic categorization solution. This is a true media analysis tool that allows you to have a lot more capabilities, whether it not just be for your CSAM investigations, maybe OSINT type investigations as well. We're putting as much of that capability in your hands as possible. So as you go through the find victims, you can see device hits. We'd have facial matching hits, where we've obviously provided samples to say, hey, well, this is what we're looking for. And again, we can turn these filters on and off. Also, the nice thing is we can mix and match. We could say, okay, show me all pictures of a particular area, but then also show me the CSAM that's been detected in that particular area. So if you're only interested in a certain zone, then again, this is where we can mix and match these search capabilities. And this is how the AIs would work. Now, it could be within our analysis, we get a different lead. We want to look at something else that's really important to us. So the visual inspect AIs, which are the slower AIs because they're the bigger AIs, this is where we can start to say, well, show me other things of interest. So if I was looking for pictures that were involving a bedroom or a bathroom, again, these can be turned on and off to allow you to use AI. And we've seen this in other products as they're starting to come online and become familiar with how AI works. But these are the common ones that we think you would probably want to see. Now, we obviously detect over 70,000 different objects. Therefore, we couldn't provide you a list of 70,000 words because the list would just purely be too big. So what we allow you to do is to use the quick search feature. across the top of the application, this is where we can then turn on our search capability to say the search I want to utilize the results of is the Vision Inspector, and I could type in literally anything. And as I start typing, the index is then going to give me suggested words, and we can see here it's finding anything that's object-based linked to an airplane. So maybe it's a design of an airplane, it's actually a picture of an airplane, or even within the airplane, the AI has worked out that the seating layout and the roofing layout would indicate that this is the aisle of an aircraft. So again, 70,000 different objects, sex positions, birthday celebrations, whatever it is you want to type in, you now have that capability from this quick search option. Or even if you want to create your own custom smart filters, so it could be that we're looking for a child at a birthday celebration in winter with a snowman, we can type multiple words in and have that set as a smart filter within our investigation. So again, the ability to start reviewing data has got to be done on a more intelligent basis. Now, it could be when we also look at digital media, some of the other things that we've built into the application is the ability to how do we enhance imagery. Now, one of the best ways when we look at digital media is that we need human recall. And as humans, we recall detail far better when we actually see things in color. Now, this could be various different scenarios. It could be that there's a CCTV camera that's been seized and it's black and white footage, and we're trying to look at the color of the vehicle. It could be, in this case, a still image, and we just want to circulate to find that this lady here is potentially a witness or our victim. We want to know more detail about her. And we have various different techniques that we can build into the solution. One of those techniques is the ability to convert grayscale to color. And simply by double clicking on the image to open it in the enhance window screen, where you have various different editing and enhancing options, the AI techniques are from this drop down allow us to apply this additional sort of information. So again, if we're starting at a point of, well, what color clothing is someone wearing, or what color vehicle did the suspect drive away in, the AI hopefully here will apply the additional clues for you then to search for additional resources, maybe other CCTV in the area that would match those results. Now, one of the powerful features of Semantics 21 is facial recognition. And there's lots of tools that utilize facial recognition, but all of them will fail, including us, if the content of the image is poor quality. Now, the best thing to do is we need to improve the quality of the image. And as we've seen here, I can draw over this lady's face. From that same AI enhancement techniques window, from that drop down, I can then choose to say, this is the lady's face. AI, make me a better picture of her. This is going to be a new image, so therefore it will fall outside of our analysis. This is not going to contaminate the evidence that you've added. And you can see in the background now that that window has opened in an external player, but from our poor quality image to our better quality image. And the reason we do this is to drive AI. We need the facial recognition to work off detail, so that if I was going to say to my analysis now, my 40,000 files, does this lady exist? Is she in another picture or another video? Well, now I know if I do the original search, I get no results. But if I use this new file, I will get results. And what actually happens is the application puts her into our reference images field here, which would allow me then just to quickly right mouse search, and then I can find connections, or I could then start to look for her within my analysis. Now, when we talk about facial recognition, obviously we did say that some of our images are being grouped with our analysis. So if we did actually go to the face group tab here, we can see that any images in our analysis here have been categorized, so that we can look for group matches of images. So this is that total solution. This is the ability to add your digital media in at lightning speed. This is the ability to use databases, whether it be an existing database that you currently possess, or you want to join the Global Alliance database for free, and help everyone else to detect and remove sensitive content as fast as possible. We have the ability, we've worked with NICMEC to parse our data, the Project Directly database. We've utilized AI to find that first generation material. We're utilizing the power of those searches, that intelligence that you currently have. We're just purely empowering you to use the data you have to find the victims quicker. And obviously the software is stacked with AI, including that ability to search and filter as fast as possible, but also to dive into looking at that enhancing capability of taking low resolution imagery, black and white imagery. We can remove shadows, We can allow you to annotate, and obviously everything that we can do within the world of images, we can do it within pictures, in pictures and videos. So again, under that capability that you've seen today is possible across all that digital media. So this was a very quick overview. We just wanted to show you that workflow of what we suggest people would use, whether or not it be with our tool or somebody else's tool, but to utilize that intelligence as best as possible. But we have done this from the ground up. We are victim ID specialists. We try and provide this service to law enforcement worldwide, and we will continue to innovate. That's one thing. We are not going to stop innovating. And there's some really, really cool features that you're going to see advertised over the next few weeks if you log into this channel again, and we'll see some of the really cool things that we're happy to bring to you. So if there's any questions and answers, please post them into the channel. I know Megan is in the background monitoring if there are any questions and answers that we need to answer live. If not, please feel free to reach out for a trial of the software. And obviously reach out if you have any questions at all. So Megan, are there any questions that have come in during the webinar today?
There sure are. Let me read them for you. So the first question is, can you please talk a little bit about the system requirements for Laser IX?
Brilliant question. So we've designed this that we can deploy on any type of hardware. So, and when we say any, we're talking the general digital forensic software. So i7, i9 processor is more than enough for the processing. 16 gig of RAM really is sort of minimum now for most processors. So 16 would be fine, but we would recommend more. When you start creeping up to sort of 5 million files within your analysis, that's when we're going to recommend switching to 32 to 64 gig of RAM. Again, a lot of the big Telanos we see now are coming with 128. That's brilliant. That really is a huge amount of RAM. Useful to have that type of RAM if you're running multiple applications simultaneously. Individually, most of the applications shouldn't be needing more than 32. And then really important for the GPU, NVIDIA. Buy NVIDIA gaming graphics cards. We do recommend NVIDIA because we do a lot of work with the NVIDIA team, but we utilize the CUDA cores for anything that's AI driven. So you will get approximately 10 times the amount of processing speed for AI tasks using a GPU. As I said before, if you're not in a position to have GPUs in your system, we will fall back to using the CPU instead. It's just going to take slightly longer. But a 16 gig or an 8 gig GPU, we don't recommend, or should I say, personally, I wouldn't recommend you waste money on server grade GPUs. They are less performance driven than a gamer GPU. So although you will pay more, what you're paying for is energy efficiency, and heat is a lot lower. They're designed for server rooms to keep the heat levels down. So if you do have the option for desktop mounted solutions, just go for a standard gamer one. You'll save yourself quite a few dollars, and the thing will fly. And then obviously just the obvious things, don't go with a too small a screen. Try and get nice screen resolutions just so that you're not putting additional pressures on your eyes. And again, all the safety features are there built into the application as you would expect for privacy, and obviously well-being, that's all there. But for hardware, yeah, just the standard computers, you'll be fine. This demo here with the AI running is just done on a $1,000 laptop. So nothing, it's not a rocket ship.
Alrighty, thanks, Tom. Next question, is licensing for law enforcement only, and what are the licensing options?
No, so again, CSAM is being sadly found everywhere across the world in every type of platform, and the more people that seem to work remote, a lot of commercial entities are now detecting that staff are overstepping the mark and misusing their equipment. So this is not a law enforcement only solution. This is predominantly was sold to law enforcement and military intelligence units, which is where we started, but this naturally has dropped into the tax office, which is some of our biggest customers for media review. We find a lot of commercial entities are using this for looking at phone downloads. So take your Cellbrite downloads, extract all the media and place it into here. It's far quicker and more efficient. Obviously, there's additional features like the AI, there's QR code analysis and translation. There's a lot more here for any type of media review. Even OCR over videos. If you're looking for registration numbers in CCTV, for instance, that is a capability of this tool. So yeah, it's not only law enforcement. In terms of licensing model, reach out to us. We do sell this on a single license basis, or what is a lot more cost efficient is to go more enterprise based, so site licensing. So we base the site license price off the number of users within normally the lab environment. This can be put onto VMs environments if you're using cloud deployments, or if you just want to have a virtual environment but local. That's entirely up to you. But again, everything's designed for an offline environment. The mapping, the AI, everything does not need the internet. The only thing that would need the internet is for you to download the software in the first place. And if you want to use the Global Alliance database, obviously you need to download and upload the files on a regular basis, of probably every month, every 2 months. And again, that could be done off a different network. So yeah, that's the licensing. Reach out for us for prices. If anyone's a HSI hero, part of the hero core, the licensing is actually free. So we don't charge for the HSI heroes. We personally think that mission is very, very good. It's a great initiative. We want to sponsor that and support that. So again, not a sales pitch for them. Please reach out. You've got the licenses. So yeah, we try and keep our pricing below our competitors' pricing. We're not a huge money-driven organization. We're not as big as the big guys. We don't invest a lot of money in marketing. It's word of mouth, which is why we've had our successes. So yeah, please reach out and we'll explain a bit more about licensing costs.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. Next question. So if uploading an image in the software, if the image would have been previously hashed and past submission in the database, would you be notified of it?
Yes. So depending on how you set your categorization, so if you're obviously in Canada or North America, then you would set your categorization based on where you're geographically located. If the software then detects that the hash match, it instantly puts it into these category labels on the left, and they would then just be listed as the images and the videos, and you would get a marker on the image to say that obviously it's within your intelligence database. That would then allow you to then say, okay, which database did it come from? So we can even filter if you've got multiple databases to say, I'm only interested in my terrorism database. Let's see what material has been flagged by that data source, or who graded it. So if you were just purely having your local lab that was labeling, and you don't use external labeling sources, every label that your lab commits back to the database in the background, the details of who graded that and when are also captured. So again, it's a really nice, powerful system. Or for instance, let's say that your analysis, you don't have the EXIF metadata, the device serial makes the models, but your colleague saw the image a year ago and they did see the EXIF metadata. You would be indicated within the software to say, yes, we've previously seen it, and your colleague saw it a year ago. And when they saw it, here's the EXIF information that was associated. Here's the case information and the time of their investigation. So again, it's a data pool, and I think, having come from law enforcement, we've not been great at sharing information with each other, but we've also probably within lab environments, we've not actually been that great at storing this information and utilizing it on the next case. And obviously, when we're hearing figures that between 50 and 70% of digital media is now being pre-categorized by the Global Alliance database, that's a phenomenal amount, and that doesn't yet include the tech firm data that we're now starting to receive from those big tech industries. So databasing is immense. It's got to be used to drive that efficiency saving. But yes, you will get notified.
All righty, thank you. And last question we have in here, any plans to go with a licensed dongle?
No. Well, I say no. So we have won the King's Award for innovation, and one of the things that we have to constantly look at as a tech industry is efficiencies and obviously the impact on the environment and being sustainable. Dongles, surprisingly, are incredibly expensive to buy. They're incredibly expensive to manage. The materials aren't great, and we would physically have to ship these things to thousands of our customers all over the world. So again, there is those knock-on effects. The quickest way to actually license is still software-based licensing. So we have various different options of how we can use those software licenses. So if someone requested a license today, they would instantly be getting the license back within a few hours, far quicker than a dongle. We are looking at a very similar option to like X-Ways, where you can utilize any USB device that you may have to create your own dongle solution. So like bring your own dongle idea. We're still assessing. So I say no quite quickly. We might look to see if there's a hybrid type option going forward, especially with our CCTV solution, because that is designed to be deployed across an entire sort of estate. So we are looking at obviously deploying that to hundreds of thousands of users from one agency. And that is literally at a price point where you're looking at a few dollars a license. So again, we have to make sure that we can scale up with the licensing for that. So you could be looking at a software-based license still, but it would be running off a server-based node. So you don't physically still have to have a dongle, but you'd be able to deploy it across a network, and the network would call out for the license server. So we're looking at very different, lots of different options.
Alrighty, thank you. We had one last question sneak in. I think this is the last one we have time for. It says, any consideration to adding the ability to attribute text descriptions to known files that describe their content, allowing users to use said files should they need to be described for case documents, courts, etc.?
Yes, that's already in. So again, a great question. So what we've realized, and again, it's personal experience, one of the worst jobs within law enforcement is having to describe a CSAM image, especially videos, where you're having to describe the noise and obviously the pain and the contributing factors to that video is very distressing. And obviously they're there for reporting purposes, so we don't have to present the actual media to the courts. They just have the descriptions. Those descriptions are captured. So if, for instance, we have this image here of this boy, and I go into the information tab, you notice there's a note section here. I can then describe the content of that image, and I can mark it either as confidential or just as a normal note. If it's just a standard note and it's a description of the abuse, or it could be anything, it could be even a terrorism offence, we describe what we see within the picture of the video. When they get saved, because we've added the notes, those notes go back to your local database. The nice thing there is if you see that and that picture again within your network, that note also is then shared with your colleagues. So they will see the note that you've created, and they can then say, yes, I want to use that note for my case, and they're the sample files. I'm going to choose only the sample files with notes that have already been created, or I want to just slightly adjust the note and update it. If this note, for instance, this case here is little boy, and we describe that this is the name of the person with the date of birth, their address, we would then mark that as confidential. The reason we do that is if we want to contribute our notes back to the Global Alliance database so that the whole of the digital community benefits from it, so they don't have to describe it, because it contains private confidential information, by marking it as a confidential note, that will not go to the Global Alliance. Every other note in your analysis will, apart from the notes that you want to say, no, they're confidential. Now, sharing notes is totally optional. When we create your export package to join the Global Alliance, there are options. Do you want to share your analysis details? Do you want to share the exit data? Do you want to share the notes? If your organization says, no, we're not going to share them, then that's fine. The community doesn't benefit from them. They still remain local to you and your organization. But the nice thing is if we're all on the same team and we're all prepared to share the descriptions of the CSAM images and videos, it means that another colleague in another country, another state, another agency, they're not having to go through that pain of having to describe that horrible content. So teamwork, it has got to work here. So notes are already shared and distributed locally, but also if you want to join the Global Alliance, they go international. So yeah, great question. It was something we introduced to the software quite a while ago. So we've had this capability for many years. But again, people are now realizing that really we should have it within all of our tools. So Megan, if there's no other questions, again, people, if there's anything you're seeing or if you're watching the on-demand version, please reach out to us. There could be other questions that you just want us to answer. Hopefully you'll see that we are a friendly, approachable company. We're always available for you. Just drop us an email at info@semantics21.com or reach out to us on social media or visit our website, drop by, hit the subscribe button, and we'll help you out the best we can. So, Megan, are there any other questions before we wrap this webinar up?
Nope, that will about do it. Thanks for a great presentation, Tom.
Lovely. Yeah, thank you for having us, and thank you for everyone else for attending.